All right, we're going to preview the Seattle Seahawks. For those of you that are new, I know Cricket just said this, but this is where I'm clipping the video. We take the team. We're in the NFC West now. We break down one team a day throughout the summer and kind of recap what they did last year, look at their offseason transactions. What did they do in the draft? Who they lose or gain in free agency? Any offseason news? Like with the Seahawks here, we had new coaching change and whatnot. Then we'll look at their 2024 schedule and some salary cap stuff, and then we'll take a look at some betting odds and whatnot. So just quick little recap, a little refresher of what is going on with the Seattle Seahawks this year heading into the 2024 season. As we start off here with their season last year, they were a huge betting favorite of a lot of the sharps last year. I remember this because a lot of them liked the value with the Seahawks before the season started at like plus 500 to win the division. They ended up come crashing down. I think they ended up closing like plus 250 or less. Obviously, San Francisco was still the favorite, but a lot of people like the Seahawks team. And you know what? Kind of a disappointing season with all the expectations. They went 9-8, but I mean, you see here, they started off 5-2, and then they hit this skid right here in the middle of the season. What is that? They went 1-5 over a 6-week stretch, and that's kind of tough to come back from.
Yep.
You know, that's
especially right there at that point of the
they
season.
finished strong, winning 3 out of 4, finishing 9-8, and let's see, they did not finish enough to squeak into the playoffs, though, unfortunately. So it's kind of you're at that frustrating point where your team is 6-7 in December, and you're like, okay, well, season's lost. Let's just lose the rest of the game so we can get a better draft pick, and then your team goes
3 out of 4. Yeah, come on, what are we doing?
What did you think of the Seahawks season last year? They gave Geno Smith that big contract, which he deserved, and it was his first kind of full season with the team as the starter, I believe. And what did you think about their season?
This is a team that's usually solid, throughout. They're not, they've got the few years with the one Super Bowl they should have won and the one they actually did there. But, it feels like this team's always kind of middle of the road to me, man. A couple years ago, they had that chance where they kind of came out of nowhere, had a chance to make the playoffs. I think their win actually wound up keeping the Packers out of that thing just a couple seasons ago. So, a team that's right there, but I don't think this team's anywhere close to a real contender in the NFC. I think that their division's pretty bad. They're also a beneficiary of that in spots. But, I think there's a few guys, and we'll talk about it when we get to free agency, but there's obviously a couple guys that I feel like they should have brought back that they did not. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued to dive into this team a little bit because I don't really know how I feel about these Seahawks right now, man.
Well, it's interesting because it's a new era, as we've talked about some offseason news with them. Pete Carroll out as Seahawks head coach after 14 seasons, which I think kind of shocked some people. We knew Pete's getting up there in age, but I mean, he's been beloved by that fan base and
beloved by everybody,
owners of that, and beloved by everyone. And they kind of thought he was gonna, bow out at his own time, but this seems like they were ready to make the move now. Because I think most people expect this to be kind of a rebuilding year. You're kind of looking for your next quarterback. You got Geno. After this year, you can get out of his contract if you want. So, it kind of felt like they're kind of just rebuilding, and you would kind of want Pete there. But I guess they want their new coach there to build this team and take a step in another direction. Team owner Jody Allen said in a statement Wednesday that the decision was made after the thoughtful meeting, careful consideration for the best interest of the franchise. Carroll, whose Seahawks finished 9-8 and missed out on the playoffs for the second time in 3 seasons, will remain with the team, though, in unspecified advisory role. So it kind of felt like, hey, Pete, we love everything that you did. We're going to move on in different directions. It's a tough move, but we still want you to be a part of the organization. Blah, 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 blah.
I think that's kind of the way to do this thing right here. Not a guy you want to have any bad blood with or burn any bridges. Like they gave you a lot to your franchise, brought you a championship and all that stuff. So I think this is a pretty good way to kind of transition out of this.
So he says, I'm up for the Seahawks. Could not sleep thinking about the segment.
Good morning, Loki. Good to see you, man. And to see you, right? You right. See you, Ronaldo Lopez. That boy Dylan on the bump for the Bravos.
Who?
Ronaldo Lopez. Remember that?
Oh, did you see my tweet yesterday, Cricket? It was not football related, but my tweet yesterday where was it Cade Cunningham for Detroit got like a $236 million contract extension. And I just retweeted who?
In the NBA, I assume.
Yes.
Who else is paying those guys that?
That was another Detroit rookie. So there's a couple Detroit rookies that I'm like, who are these guys?
And the Pistons won, 11 games last year or something?
You got to spend the money somewhere. But
How do you have it? Who's
there's
paying
money.
to watch the Pistons play? Fuck the NBA, man. God, I hate it.
Seahawks' new head coach is Mike Macdonald. He's going to be the 9th head coach in franchise history, and he spent the last 10 seasons with the Baltimore. Tell me about Mike as the defensive coordinator. Tell me about Mike Macdonald. What you like this guy? What do you think? He looks like younger up and coming coach. I don't want to say younger, but I mean he's like 30, 40 years younger than Pete. Right? No, he's only 37, so that is
all
young.
3 decades younger than Pete Carroll here. So I mean, you definitely got a younger coach. This guy, I like this guy, man.
He might have won a national championship before Mike was born.
He probably did. Real close to it, man. This guy's can't be much older than me here. But yeah, no, I like I said, I like this hire right here. If you're gonna go, a different direction, they tend to look like they're going more defensive minded here. Which in a division with the 49ers and things like that, probably not a bad idea. You got some offensive playmakers in that division, so you do need to go more defensive minded, in my opinion. There, I don't know. The jury's still out on this guy. Got a pretty good body of work so far as a coordinator, but we haven't seen him in this role just yet. So, some of those guys can be great coordinators, but can't be good head coaches. We've seen that year in and year out, aka Brandon Staley. But this guy right here, I think he'll do all right. I really do. I'm anxious to see how he does. Like I said, there's a lot of question marks for me on these Seahawks, man, including this guy right here and what kind of job he's going to do in the top spot. But I think they could have made worse hires.
Yeah. No, I think it was good. And defensive minded head coach is a great fit for Seattle in that environment.
Yeah.
Miss Marlene sounds like she has a very fun and interesting life. She says she's in Miami this week. Her brother is teaching a radar class to one of the police agencies.
Oh, okay. That's some bad boys for life stuff, man.
Yeah,
let's go.
Truth. Right. Here we are. Seattle Seahawks transactions. Did any of these really kind of stand out to you? We're gonna see. I mean,
I'll tell you the one
who they got rid of.
The one did stand out to me.
Which one?
I can't believe they let this damn guy go again. But Bobby Wagner, man.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
That dude, I mean, he's up there in age, but every year everyone thinks he's going to fall off, and he ends up leading the league in tackles and assists.
I don't give a damn if he has 2 tackles all year long. After what that man's given to your franchise and stuff, he's been the face of your franchise, one of the faces of it for some years now. You keep doing him wrong. He keeps going away. He keeps coming back to you, still giving you a solid effort out there week in, week out. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader in society, man. I love Bobby Wagner, and I can't figure out for the life of me why they couldn't let that man come back, sign him a year or 2 deal, let him retire as a Seahawk, but he's got to go over to the Commanders. Now, that's where Bobby Wagner landed in free agency, is with the Washington Commanders. But it kind of pisses me off the Seahawks didn't re-sign this guy, man.
I know. He's beloved up there, too.
Love that guy.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner. I'm like, looking at this, I'm like, why are we naming why are they posting all these transactions, naming all these coaches and stuff like that? I'm like, oh yeah, we hired a new coach. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that with the other teams. I'm like,
right. Bring their whole
not that many. Not that many. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. Then they released probably the worst trade in franchise history for Jamal Adams. They released him. They moved on from Quandre Diggs and Will Dissly. I mean, Diggs and Dissly were kind of a big part of this organization the last few years. Adams was the guy that hyped everyone up, but by the time, I think 2 seasons ago, you knew that I got a sense, because all my buddies are huge Seahawks fans, they were done with that guy, and you knew that this was coming, and everyone was excited to move on from Jamal Adams, because great player for about 2 games.
Yeah, bro, and he's kind of a head case right now too. You saw that game against, I think it was Giants last year, a primetime game, where he came out and he played like the first series, made like 3 tackles, 3 pretty great plays, but then he lowered his head on one, wound up going to concussion protocol. He wound up cussing out the neurosurgeon or whatever that was there on the sideline, the guy that does the concussion protocol, says whether you can play or not. He's like cussing that guy out and freaking out. I had to apologize to him later. So Jamal Adams got a lot of stuff going on there, man. And Will Dissly, like I said, moving on from him, sending him to the Chargers. That was a guy that I did like at tight end. I think he's a very athletic guy that makes some plays, but he can't stay healthy, man. It seems like every year this guy's missing half the games because of injuries and things like that. They did bring a couple tight ends. Yeah, they re-signed Noah Fant there, another guy that's also dealt with some injuries in this thing. But they bring over Pharaoh Brown from tight end from the Patriots, from your Patriots there. And Colby Parkinson, another tight end for the Seahawks, has moved on to the Rams there. But
Mm-hmm.
they did fill some spots with the tight end position there. They still got some guys they can plug and play, but once again, a lot of guys that I see that haven't been able to stay healthy there.
Yeah, and I think a big re-signing that they did, they re-signed in Leonard Williams. So I think that was one that my buddies were pretty pumped about. They made a trade with Washington for Sam Howell. So they got Sam Howell as a backup quarterback there, which is probably one of the better backup quarterbacks you can get in the league.
Oh yeah.
Then,
Yeah. No, I can live with that with Sam Howell being a backup now.
yeah. And then outside of that, well, what other moves did they make? I think nothing that really stands out.
Who would you rather have as backup quarterback? Drew Lock or Sam Howell?
Oh, Byron Murphy. They've signed Byron Murphy,
Yeah.
defensive tackle. Who would I rather have? Sorry.
Who would you rather have Drew as a backup quarterback? Now you obviously got Geno there as your starter, but would you rather have Drew Lock, who they have moved on from, sent to the Giants, or would you rather have Sam Howell, who they brought over from the Commanders?
Sam Howell.
I think so too. Drew Lock got him a big
Let's get
win.
into let's get into their draft picks. Now, one thing that was interesting is seeing how they were going to draft this year, because I argued last season that they probably had the best first round draft pick in the league. It was right there with them in Philadelphia. But Seattle had 2 first round draft picks last year, and they nailed it. They got Devin Witherspoon, so they got the best corner, although I would argue Christian Gonzalez is right up there with him. But Devin Witherspoon, day one player, had a great season last year. And then they had Jackson Smith. How do you say it? Njigba, right? A wide receiver, much needed. And both, I think, what?
Njigba.
Whatever. Win an award or win a Super Bowl and I'll get your name right. But both guys had a great rookie season. They were like day one players, and I think they were good pieces, good role, just a good base to start rebuilding that team. Good young talent. I know you were pretty high on both of them as well.
Yeah. I was. I do like the first round pick here for them, and Byron Murphy, guy out of Texas, a big guy, 6'1", 297. He was the number 1 ranked defensive tackle, number 14 overall ranked player, had a grade of 91 there. He's an outstanding run defender, man. Can really clog up that middle there. He's got good low center of gravity, explosive power. And he's got a good head on his shoulder, got a head on the swivel there, can find the ball, getting off the block and things like that. So this is a guy who played a lot of big time college football at Texas. We talk about that all the time. I know y'all hear me say that a lot, but to me, it does matter when you're playing against the likes of Oklahoma and all this stuff versus Toledo.
and in Seattle, especially now with the new coach and defensive minded head coach, Seattle's always loved getting the defensive line stacked as if they can. They love drafting defensive line, defensive edge, or defensive tackles. And so I thought this was a great fit for Murphy here. I didn't even realize. I was like, man, Murphy, I thought he was a rookie when I was reading off the transactions, but I was like, oh yeah, he had to sign his rookie contract.
Yeah, like I said, this is a good spot, man. It's never bad to create great depth on the defensive line in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. They didn't have really that much many draft picks. They had that first round draft pick, and they didn't have one until round 3, number 81 overall, which they take a guard, beefing up that offensive line, which has always been an issue with Seattle. So they're always looking for big boys to put into that line and get some depth on that line. But yeah, Christian Haynes from Connecticut.
That's a good
I don't
pick.
know much about this dude from Connecticut, but he looks like a big boy out there.
That's a good pick. Yeah, big old boy. 6'3", 317 here. He was a 4-year starter. Like I said, got great size and range there. Tough guy. I like this pick. He was the number 1 ranked offensive guard in the draft, 70 overall ranked player, and a grade of 79 there. But I love getting guys in that have been 4-year starters at the Division I level in college football. You've grown up a lot. You've matured a lot right there. You've got a lot of time on the field, in the film room and all that stuff, weight room. Like I said, already a big guy there. So I think this is a good pick. Anytime you can get a 4-year starter at the Division I level in the 3rd round, I feel like you got some value.
Absolutely. And then, we start getting the 4th round linebacker, Tyrese Knight out of UTEP. You've got another 4th round pick, tight end AJ Barner out of Michigan. It'll be interesting because I think the reason why he was a 4th rounder, correct me if I'm wrong, a little undersized for tight end.
Yeah, a little bit there. At 6'6", 251, still a pretty good size guy. He's not really a burner. Could be a reliable check down option. Like I said, got a good frame, got solid hands there. So he's one of those guys that get to the second level and make some blocks, but not necessarily a big time receiving threat here, but could be a good check down option.
All right. And then 5th round pick, cornerback out of Auburn, Naheem Pritchett. 6th round pick from Washington, a tackle. No, sorry. They traded with Washington. Tackle out of Utah. Utah, we know, had a pretty decent line. Sayota Lalume. Okay. And then cornerback DJ James out of Auburn. A tackle Michael Gerald Findlay. What is Findlay?
Who?
You know what school that is?
Who?
He's out of Findlay.
Oh hell, I don't know. I
don't either.
Findlay, yeah, that is what that says, ain't it, bro? Yeah, I don't know where that is, man.
It looks like Oklahoma State right there, but it must be a D3 or something like that. I don't know.
They must not
the University of Findlay. Let me look that up.
They must not have cameras there because this guy doesn't even have a profile picture for the draft, so they must not have cameras.
It's a private university in Findlay, Ohio.
Okay, well, hell yeah. Dude must be a player. If you can get noticed by the NFL from Findlay, you are pretty solid, man. You at least got some talent there. Talk about those two cornerbacks out of Auburn there.
Mm-hmm.
You got a tall guy in Nehemiah Pritchett that, 6 foot guy, got long arms, ran the 4th fastest 40 out of the corners who ran at the combine this year. Pretty explosive guy. And they expect him to kind of turn into a pretty good corner here, man. He got a pretty high ceiling there. And then DJ James on the other side, his teammate down at Auburn down there. DJ James actually ranked higher than Nehemiah Pritchett there. So, I like both these guys. Guys come out of SEC there, and both of them 6 foot tall. So you got tall cornerbacks. We know how important that is with all these receivers these days, being able to play one-on-one out there with a guy that actually get up and, challenge one-on-one balls. So I think both these guys, out of these two guys, one of these winds up being a pretty productive player for the Seahawks.
Absolutely. All our friends are waking up and hopping in here. Mr. Krabby, good morning. MB, good morning. Love to see you guys here. Appreciate it.
CU's popping off in there this morning. He's talking about the radar training. He said one a little bit ago, he was like, how do they not know how to use the radar gun? What could go wrong?
And pointing it backwards. I told you, he woke up and chose violence today. I love it.
That's right.
The Braves bet online. Look at that. Jerks. Seattle Seahawks salary cap. Some of their big people they're playing. Obviously, we know Geno Smith. Really not for a starting quarterback. $26 million is not a big cap hit. But he is the number one. Then, of course, DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett, this is probably Lockett's last year. They would have got rid of him this year, but they couldn't afford to because they just owed him too much money. But they got, Leonard Williams in, hitting a $10 million cap hit this year. Look at that. Witherspoon as a number one or first round draft pick is pretty high up on the list, making 7.2.
How many years does he have left on that deal? Because they're going to pay him too. Witherspoon.
Oh, this is the second season.
Second year. It's only second.
Yeah, so it all good, and they got that 5th year option. They're good with him.
It all runs together.
But just look at the difference. So you got Witherspoon, who was drafted up at he was 5. He's 7.2 million, and then you got Jackson Smith and Ajigba, who was like a 22nd overall or something like that. He's at 3.2, just like that far down the draft. How pay discrepancy, but both those guys are going to end up, if they end up having careers that they think, they'll end up getting paid eventually. But overall, nothing egregious in their salary cap. I don't think they have much dead cap space down here that they're still paying people. Let's see. This trade just gets worse and worse from Jamal Adams. They're paying. They have to take a $20 million, almost $21 million cap it this year just to get rid of them. Same thing with Quandre Diggs and Will Dissly. But other than that, nothing too crazy. It was just mainly Jamal Adams, but they just bit the bullet on that and got rid of him.
I got to ask you a question. What's the best conference in college football?
Well, I don't know. There's only 3 conferences now.
Okay, what's SEC? The best one? All right, thank you. I was just curious. I always get accused of SEC bias because I'm talking about the best conference in the country, but I just want to be clear on that.
I just want to say that none of those major conferences had the stones to allow the Cougars in. So,
hey, we'll let y'all in today, man.
Come on. You guys didn't do it.
Come on. Come on
You guys
over,
are
man.
scared because you know that the Cougars are good for one big upset a year. All right. And you don't want that. That's why Ohio State was fighting to keep Washington State out of the Big Ten, because they did not want to face the Cougars in November and screw up their season.
You're probably right. You're probably right. But Buckeyes would be scared of the Cougars. You're probably right.
Yeah, those pussies. All right, here we go. We're going to play the so we're going to look at their 2024 season. This is my favorite part because we're going to play Guess the Lines. I went 0 for yesterday. What we do here is we're going to go through each game, and I'm going to guess the current odds, because over on DraftKings, they have odds for every single game up, and Cricket's going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. We set the line at 2.5 of how many I get exactly right. We should probably set a line of how many I'm going to get beat by the hook, but, is what it is. And you think I would remember this from last week, but I don't, of what this Denver line was. But anyway, so we'll start off. They open up the season against Denver at home. I'm going to guess the Seahawks here, and chat, play along too if you want to do yours. Bolt says he's hammering the over.
Hammering the over. Let's go. He doubled. He's going to get that money back.
He knows I can't go 0 for 2 days in a row.
That's right. I'm going with the exact score. I'm betting exactly. You get exactly 2 right at plus 700.
Okay. Denver Broncos. So they host the Denver Broncos. Seattle 4.5-point favorites.
Oh man, there's one. Boom, right in the mouth. Seattle minus 4.5 at home against the Broncos.
Let's go. Loki says SEC playoff team sure didn't look like the best conference. Hey, you can have it down here. It's all right.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, hell, that Michigan team, they've been building that damn thing for a decade.
Yeah, they've been cheating all the way.
Let's see how they do this year.
The 30 for 30 on it like 4 years from now.
Let's see how they do this year.
Then they're at New England. I gotta say, man, Seattle. Well, let's do it again. Seattle 4.5-point favorites at New England.
Seahawks minus 2.5 at the Patriots.
That is giving the Patriots way too much respect. That is gross. Home against Miami. Miami. 3.5-point favorites against Seattle.
I'm not defensive on UC. I'm just messing with you, bro.
Don't let the chat
favorites.
They're only 2-point favorites.
Seahawks are plus 2 at home against the Dolphins.
I might have to bet that now. Yeah. What in what world does Miami not? I mean, we're talking September football. I know it's up in Seattle. It gets loud up there. But in what world does Miami not blow out the Seahawks in week 3?
I don't know. You got cross-country travel and all that stuff. Weird stuff. I'm telling you, I'm not sold on this Miami Dolphins team. I think they're going to take a step back.
I'll bet on them in September.
Bet on them.
All right. So then they're at Detroit. Detroit 3.5-point favorites.
Ooh, Detroit minus 6. I'm going to bet the Seahawks right now. In this one, Detroit minus 6.
That's one where you're getting the value there with the Seahawks. Yeah. That's a Monday Night Football game. You know that.
I feel like that line was the exact same last year when they played up in Detroit, and the Seahawks beat them straight up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, because we were on Seattle on that one.
We took Seattle on the money line that week.
Remember, I came in here and I was like, "You guys know me. I hate betting on the Seahawks, but I'm betting the money line on the Seahawks in this one." And Cricket was like, I'm tailing that because he never likes betting on Seattle.
Yeah, and it was a winner chicken dinner, man.
Okay,
it's like the week after the Lions beat the Chiefs, I think.
Okay, home against New York. I want to say Seattle's a 3.5-point favorite against New York.
Boom, right in the mouth, man. Seahawks minus 3.5 at home against the Giants.
Now all I gotta do is just bomb the rest of the way, and Cricket hits his exact.
Man, I'm right on. I'm cashing this plus 700.
We should remember this from yesterday with San Francisco, and I don't. They're home against San Francisco. San Francisco 6-point favorites.
Seahawks plus 5 at home against the 49ers.
I knew it was one of those funky ones. Thursday Night Football. God, that's when I'm betting San Francisco now. Okay. Then they're at Atlanta. Atlanta's getting way too much credit here. I'm going to say Atlanta is 3-point favorites.
Seahawks plus 3.5 at the Falcons.
Oh, the hook.
I love
the damn hook is here. Bear with the machine guns here. He says, as your local purple samurai, I wish y'all a good morning. Support your local samurai. That's right.
Good to see you, sir. Been a few days. Hope all is well in your world.
He says their city's Seattle's crowd is nuts. Their city's so bad. Only place you can be safe is the stadium there.
You've been telling
that is also questionable, and especially if you step right outside the stadium, it gets
real hairy.
It's real hairy, real quick.
You've been telling me about the shit going on in Seattle, so I ain't messing with that.
Yeah, and I went there years. I mean, I went to a game, 2017. Yeah, 2017. We went there and stayed downtown and whatnot. It was hairy then. I can't imagine what it's like now. Oof. Okay, so then you said we're on Buffalo, right? So they're home they get Buffalo home. Buffalo 6.5 point favorites.
Whoa, you gave Buffalo a lot of credit there. Seahawks +3 at home against the Bills.
People are really down on the Bills right now. I might like Buffalo. See, it's always hard because I don't know what Buffalo's schedule is leading up to this. So like that factors into the points.
But we might be on the Bills this year, bro.
I know.
I feel like the whole world's going to fade them. They've been piling them up for the last couple years, and now they're kind of down on them. I think we got to pile on the Bills this year.
Yeah, I think we do. Let's see. Seattle home against the Rams. I'm gonna say the Rams are a 1 point favorite in Seattle.
Oh, Seahawks +1.5 at home against the Rams.
I do know this division though. I do know
you're spot on there, yeah.
And then they get a week 10 bye week. That's nice. Then they're at San Francisco. San Francisco 9.5 point favorites.
Seahawks +9 at the 49ers.
That's disgusting. And then they're home against Arizona. Seattle. This one's tough. I want to say 1, but I'm going to say 2. Seattle 2 point favorites against Arizona.
Seahawks -3 at home against the Cardinals.
3. Wow. Okay, that's shocking. Then they got to go out to New York. I'm going to say New York 5.5 point favorites.
Seahawks +4.5 at the New York Jets.
I'm gonna say 4. Yeah, I gotta go with my gut. What are we doing? And then they gotta go at Arizona. I'm gonna say Arizona. Oh, this one's tough. Arizona flipping it around. 3 point, a little home. Arizona 2 point favorites at home.
Seahawks +1 at the Cardinals.
Gave them too much credit. Then they're home against Green Bay. Green Bay 3.5 point favorites.
Seahawks +1 at home against the Packers.
Really?
Yeah.
That one's funky.
A lot of respect for those Jordan Love led Packers.
I was giving them more respect. That's what I was saying. I was saying that the Packers were going to be over a field goal favorite because I thought people are way too hyped up on them there. Interesting. Then they're home against Minnesota. This one's tough. I'm going to say Seattle 3 point favorites at home against Minnesota.
Seahawks -2 at home against the Vikings.
Okay. Then we got a late Thursday night football game, probably the last Thursday night football game of the year. They're at Chicago. Chicago 3 point favorites.
Seahawks +3.5 at the Bears.
And then they're at LA. Let's see. LA was 1.5 there. I want to say LA 3.5 point favorites.
Seahawks +5.5 at the Rams.
Damn. Okay. You hit your exacta. Congratulations.
Exactly right in the mouth. +700. Give me that money. Go ahead and put it in the account. Love that.
Oh boy. Man,
okay. You hit the first one out of the gate too, bro. Made me sweat.
I'm gonna get dialed in here soon. I'm gonna start. Remember last year, like midway through doing this?
You did get a pretty good feel for it.
Isn't there one I got like 6 or 7 right? One week. I'm just dialed in on whatever team that was.
I couldn't tell you who it was, man, but yeah, I do remember one day you were kind of on fire.
Yeah, I think it was when I was on my work trip too.
Probably, probably from the hotel room in the middle of the Idahoan mountains.
Those were good times. Those were good times.
That's when the espresso shot was just small time,
man. Yeah. We were babies. Okay, moving on. Let's go ahead and look at the NFL futures. We're going to go to the division futures now. Let's see. NFC West. Your Seattle Seahawks are the third favorite to win the division at +750. I bet you that comes down to +500 or less. I bet there's going to be a ton of sharp money coming in on them. Obviously, San Francisco, the favorite at -210. But you see any value taking the Seahawks there? +750?
I'm showing +700 right now, but I don't hate that. If I'm going to bet anybody in this division, that's the one I'm betting.
Yeah.
I don't really like the +330 for the Rams just because you got an older squad there with a lot of guys that can, you don't know, Cooper Kupp's going to have to miss time, Matthew Stafford, all the different things there, the question marks with those guys. So I don't want to play bet +330 on the Rams. I think that should be flipped around. I think the Rams should probably be +700 and the Seahawks +330. So I'll see some value there in Seattle.
I think they should both be like around 450.
Probably, 500, something like that.
Yeah. But okay.
I'll tell you who not to bet. Do not waste your money on the Cardinals.
There you go. And then if you're feeling real degenerate and you're a huge Seattle fan, you can get 33-1 that they're going to win the NFC and go to the Super Bowl.
Let's look at it to make
33.
the playoffs. That's probably more reasonable.
Yeah, we'll go there. And then Super Bowl futures. If you're real bold and you think they're going to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, you can get 71 on your money there. How about that?
What do you think about a little plus 180 to make the playoffs?
Plus 180 to make the playoffs?
Plus 180. I don't hate that.
I think I like it because if we look at their, me, I always like to think about how we can hedge out and guarantee a profit. They end the season on the road, 2 road games, one against the Bears, which I don't think will be a playoff team, but one against the Rams, who they might be competing with in Division 4, that wild card spot. So if they're on the road, and we already know that with these lines that they're more than likely than not going to be dogs anyway. So if you got to make the playoff ticket at plus 180, and then you can get, you can get some value betting, betting the Rams and the Bears the last 2 weeks of the season to kind of hedge out.
True. Yeah. True. Yeah. I mean,
their season win total is set at 7.5. The over is minus 140. So they're saying this more likely than not, this team is an 8-win team, 8-9 season. Probably what I would expect from this squad and looking at their schedule.
Yeah, I would think so. Not the toughest schedule, but also not the easiest schedule either. You got teams like the Vikings coming to town. We don't know really what we're going to get out of that Bears squad there. So, sitting at 7.5 win. I mean, this is either probably an 8-9, 9-8 team right there. So, over 7.5 on DraftKings listed minus 135, over 9.5 to get to 10 wins plus 195. I don't think I love that. I don't know if this is a 10-7 team.
Look at this. They completely removed the 9.5 from San Francisco. You can't even bet it now.
I bet you did, you pieces of shit.
So if you are really pessimistic on the Seahawks, you can get them under 5.5 at plus 350. If you think they can get to 10 wins, like you were saying, plus 200. Plus 200. I think I like that under 9.5. I think the best, under 9.5 at minus 250. I think the best you see from this team is 9-8 again. First year, head coach.
Under 9.5 is plus 200?
No, minus 250. Over 9.5.
Over 9.5. Okay, yeah. Over 9.5. I'm reading these back. You got yours listed on opposite sides of mine. That's what always throws me off there.
Loki wants to know, Cricket, what's the range to get 1 point in the Smoke the Spread daily pick contest? It's minus 150 to minus 101, right?
Minus 130 to minus 101.
Good thing we asked Cricket.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, man. So many people have this thing mixed up and sit here try to. I set that thing the way I did for a reason, from plus 100 to plus 150 to be 2-pointers, not plus 100 to plus 149. I did not want plus 150 as cheap 3-pointers. I didn't want plus 200 as cheap 4-pointers. And I'll be honest, I haven't won a contest pick since like 1999, so I haven't really looked at the scoring because it doesn't matter. All I'm getting is -1 every day. But what 1 point is supposed to be, Loki, is minus 130 to minus 101. Plus 100.
I would like. I was thinking about this the other day. It would probably be too much work to do it, but I would love if we could do like all the minus 100s, all the minus 200s, and all the minus 300s. Like if you like a minus 250 bet, great. And if it hits, you get 1 point. But if it loses, you lose 2 points.
Yeah, I thought about that too. If you took a 4-pointer and you lost, you only lost like 1 point. But if you took a 1-pointer and lost, you lost 4 points or whatever,
But I'm based off the favorite. So like if you like the Dodgers one of those days that they're a minus 325, right? And they end up losing, you don't lose 1 point, you lose 3. But if they end up winning, you only get 1 point. It's kind of like to win 1 unit, right? It's like, we're winning one, we're risking 3 units to win. I think that would be kind of if you guys ever workshop that, I don't think it would be too difficult to do that in the contest.
I mean, if we could ever find some people like shout out to Genesis, man, because he has been the one scorekeeping that for us for a couple of months now. He's done a great job. He gets up with those twins. He got twins too, just like you, man. He gets up with them twins in the middle of the night and winds up updating that scoreboard. It's ready to go in the morning. So shout out to Genesis, man, because he's really done a great job on that thing. I don't really want to add any more work to him because I do feel like that gets kind of tough there. But maybe eventually we get a program.
It should be pretty easy. All you look and see, okay, minus 250, they lost. Oh, that guy gets minus 2.
In the technology world, I feel like there's eventually some point where we can just enter this stuff in and like it should keep the score for us. But I don't know how to write code, man. I barely know how to share a live stream. So,
looking at some of the player awards, Byron Murphy. You like any value on Byron Murphy plus 900 for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I think there's some value there. I don't know that he'll get the stats to
It's
be able
tough
to.
for a tackle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Stats,
I don't think he'll have the opportunities. He's still, it can be, because he can be a very dominant, impactful player and not have the stat line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm
Let's
trying
see
to
if
see what's
Seattle's got any
Devin
MVP hopes.
Witherspoon, defensive player of the year.
Oh, defensive player of the year. Okay, I was looking at rookie. Let's go to defensive player of the year. Witherspoon. 80-1 on your money.
I'm telling you, bro, it's worth a sprinkle. Put you a couple dollars on that, because that man comes out and has, he's a cover corner, a guy that can really get some opportunities. They're going to try to throw at him. Still a young guy, maybe it's the sophomore season now, so a lot of people would like to have the regression. That guy,
and he's a guy that will get highlights too. That's what you want if you're going to be a corner. You want to get interceptions. You want to get highlights. And we saw last year he returned one
100-yard pick six against in prime time against the damn Giants there. That same game, Jamal Adams got knocked out early. But yeah, Devin Witherspoon is an electrifying guy. And like you said, man, you start getting those highlights, a couple long pick sixes, man, the voters start seeing you too.
Yeah, so I mean, you do it in the right time. I think that's not a bad 80-1, because obviously your favorites up here are all the defensive edge rushers and whatnot.
Throw you a couple bucks on it, man. Cornerbacks and defensive backs are like that, because you look like a season like Deron Bland had last year, where they come out and that break a crazy record or something like that.
Yeah,
that could happen at a cornerback position, man.
I feel like you got to hit those though later in the season, because everyone's so biased. They don't remember when you do it week 1.
Right, that's true. Yeah, you do got to get those like after your bye week or something, man.
You get a couple good ones, throughout the season. But if you can get a really, especially a game-winning one, and in December,
in a big game where you're like fighting for a playoff spot and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That guy's definitely capable of that. So I think it's worth a couple dollars anyway.
And then Mike McDonald, if you like him to turn things around in year 1 in Seattle, 12-1 on your money for Coach of the Year.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I love that one or not. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to get him that. Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. That's the Seattle Seahawks. We recap their previous season, previewed their upcoming season, looked at some of the betting odds. We do this every day throughout the summer. We're working on the NFC West right now. And once we get done with the NFC West, we will then have a day where we spend and look at all our best bets of the NFC West from all the teams, and we will lay those out for you guys. If this is something that interests you, make sure you subscribe to the channel here on Rumble, YouTube, X, wherever you're watching this. We do have a podcast too, and we would really appreciate if you subscribe to the podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, just search for Game On Sports News and Picks. It should pop up, or you can come over to gameon.locals.com, and I have a bunch of links and everything over there. Really trying to get those podcast numbers up. They're looking great. They're growing every day. But if you could, even if you are you tune into the show, if you could just subscribe, click the little subscribe to the podcast and download the episodes, that would be great. It really helps the numbers there. But yeah, Cricket, that's the Seahawks for you.